Welcome off the post. I'm Russ Cohen. We've got Anthony Mingione. And how are you?
I have power in my house, so I'm pretty happy.
See, it's just the basics. Sometimes the basics in life. And we have Mike Ogello. Mike, how are you?
Here's my thoughts on free agent day. Wah, wah, wah.
Yep. But we were contracted to do it, so we did it.
Agency, right?
Yada, yada, yada.
We did what we could with the best we had.
We did.
So we'll do a couple camp reports here, and then we'll get into some of the stories out there. We'll do the Flyers first, since Anthony and I were both at camp. And I'll let you go first, and then I'll sprinkle in, because I did put up a report already, too.
Yes, I did see. I just am about to, we'll circulate it right after the show, because I just saw it. Actually, I could probably do it now. But
right.
we have a show to do. So let's
exactly.
There we go. Priority.
Show must go on.
Show must go on. Exactly. Thank you, Freddie. So it was, it was interesting certainly to watch some of the prospects from previous years who you want to see how things are kind of developing. So
right.
I was kind of keeping my eye on Jack Berglin a little bit, and also Henry Ruhonen. And you and I both noticed how much Ruhonen, his skating is has improved immensely. Hands. So again, it's initial drills, and we will get a better idea about where he's at as a player. Certainly there's a 3-on-3 on Saturday, and then we have, of course, the full scrimmage Sunday night. I thought Jack Berglin, who's obviously
he's strong, man. Ty Murchison could not handle him. That's for sure.
He is a bull. So I thought there was some pretty good work out of him.
Mm-hmm.
Hunter McDonald, I thought had some good moments, but again, something that you pointed out was the fact that he struggles sometimes to get the puck out of the corner, and if he's going to be in the National Hockey League, it's got to be something he's got to get a little better at.
Yeah.
I would say the superlatives that we had, I would say, was Jack Murtagh shot. Like I said, Murtagh.
Oh yeah.
I keep saying it. Sorry,
because
I keep lethal weaponing his name, and I apologize to everybody.
Now Murtagh's got a shot, man. He's a strong kid. Like, he's already 200. He thinks he'll be 215. I think he might be 2, and if he is, watch out.
Exactly. And again, the thing you notice immediately is just how the puck just explodes off his stick with a shot. It's a legit NHL level shot. He's strong. I know you said in your report he's looking to play at 215 eventually. If he gets to 215, he's going to be a real handful for teams.
Oh yeah.
One guy who already is a 215, Shane Van Zyl, as advertised, I thought, physically engaging in the corners.
Yep.
Some work, I think, obviously, a little bit on skating that I would say, but
some shot accuracy stuff, sure.
Some shot accuracy, but that's going to come probably.
Yep.
And then obviously the big two everybody wants to know about obviously is Porter Martone and Jack Nesbbit. And I mean, Nesbbit, we see you can see everything about him in a nutshell today. His angles are great. I think he thinks the game really well, especially in his own zone. I see a definite advanced defensive IQ. He's ahead of of a lot of players in that circumstance. The minute the ice starts to stretch a little bit and he has to skate, that is where you see why he's going to be more of a long-term project. But I have a lot, as I said to you there, I have a lot of time for Jack Nesbbit.
Oh yeah.
It was great to talk to him. We were great to talk to him in person today.
Yeah. He's an engaging
His personality is such. He seems like a type who's going to work on things and will max out, as much as he can as he continues to physically grow.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say I taught him how to conduct his own interviews. That's on Instagram or Twitter. Maybe that one's on Twitter. I got him to get more aggressive in the scrum so he could ask that important question of Brady Martin. But the other thing is, he's like a rough draft of a book. Like, I've written enough books where he's like the rough draft. Like, this is like we put together the table of contents. We have an idea of what this book want it to be. And it's going to be, something else and better. And that's what I think he's going to be too. I think we're just seeing he's just scratching the surface on stuff.
And again, I think it's, you and I basically said it's a 3-year thing with Jack.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
To be a National Hockey League player, the biggest thing obviously to work on is going to be his skating, his edges. He also still has to get stronger. He's
186 pounds.
6'5". He looks massive, but he's a lanky 6'5". I mean, I look at him and I see a guy who, when he fills in those frames and gets that strength, he's going to be a bear to deal with at the NHL level.
Yeah, because defensively he knows what he's doing. He's smart,
and that's huge. And that to me is, for me, when we talk about a player like Nesbbit, I can see why scouts, why people fell in love with him, and why he shot up the board. But again, he's, as you said, the rough draft of a book is a perfect analogy. And then obviously everybody was there to see number 94, Porter Martone. Right. And the biggest thing you see with Martone is, he's got absolutely has skills that pop at you to say he's going to be in the NHL pretty soon. I would say the biggest
one more year.
I would prefer one more year, but circumstances and his own desire, I think, as well, could tip things in a sooner direction. But I would say it would be. Still think it would be better for his development if he still had another year. But again, we'll get through camp. His playmaking ability. If you're on the ice, keep your stick on the ice, because he has got a head on a swivel. He looks and he's able to find guys at angles where I'm just like, he's a power winger and he does that. That's really what jumps out to you about Martone. And he's physically engaged. He engages physically in the corner. Yeah. He's not what we'll call a bruiser, but he gets in there.
But he's using his body. When he gets stronger, he might use it more. I don't
know if he has that, that mean streak per se yet.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know if he will or he won't, but the toolbox is really, I was truly impressed by that. And that was,
dear producer, do that.
That was Mike messing with a tool in his toolbox there, as everybody watched the show and got to see my nostrils.
Here's what I would say. Having covered this team for I don't know, 19 years, in that 19 years for a draft pick, he's probably the biggest, most skilled guy they've had in those 19 years. That package, and that's a good package to have. Randy asks, was I happy that Nesbbit was picked at 12? No, because other than Barry Trotz, nobody else in the building would have picked him at 12. That's obvious. I asked around. Oh, we know.
One person,
Barry Trotz. That's it. There's nobody else that wanted him at 12. No, but they wanted that guy, so they
wanted the guy. For it. And again, Philly definitely wanted to come into this draft and come away out of the first round with a center prospect, and they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Mike, I don't know what Sabres camp has looked like or is looking like. Give us an idea for that.
Well, it was funny because, obviously I did not go to camp yesterday because of free agent frenzy and the show that we did. Went there on Monday, and of course, all focus was on Roddy Murtka, the first round pick. Mm-hmm. And yes, he's big. And
he's big.
He's big. We knew that from the combine. I thought somebody has a sense of humor because Roddy Murtka was assigned jersey number 57. And for those Sabre fans out there, and 57 is the number worn by Tyler Myers, the last big, lanky, right shot defenseman that they drafted. And this was, 2007 or 2006 or 2007.
In the 2000s.
In the 2000s. So 2008. 2008 it was the Stamkos draft. But he was interviewed and he was asked whether he was sort of resigned to going back to Seattle in the WHL, and he was, I don't know, we'll see. It's like, he's going back to the WHL. Come on, there's no. I know that they like his size. It would be an unmitigated disaster to keep an 18-year-old defenseman, no matter how big
he can't.
I know. But I understand the. I understand the desire to want to make the NHL, but he was in the Czech Super League, wasn't getting ice time, came over to the WHL and played very well for Seattle.
Right.
And as I thought before the draft, Russ, they were scouting their own prospect, Scott Ratzlaff, the goaltender, right. And they saw Murtka all over and over. Yep. And he was on their radar, but the fact that they had an in, or sort of they had more eyes on him, was the reason why I think that they fell in love with him. And
he's got a lot of moving parts. That's what I'd be afraid of.
Yeah. The interesting thing about the structure of the dev camp is they decided they were not going to bring any of their AHL players. So they basically gave all the Amherst, including Hellenius, including Ostland and Isaac Rosen, they were not at the development camp.
Why? What was the reasoning?
Well, the reasoning for it was they had a long season, and with some of them they would be flying back over.
So what? You know what?
But we saw this similarly with Philadelphia too today. We also saw Barkey wasn't there.
No, but these guys, some of these guys have injuries. Hellenius doesn't have an injury, and it's like Hellenius should be there so he could motivate some of these young guys too, and because they would look up to him. Like to not have him there is ridiculous.
GM Russ would have had that. GM Russ would make sure this happened.
Yeah. And I
told you to pound sand. He's tired.
All I know is the reason that they said was it was a long season for the Amherst, and they did not want. Now nobody said this. But. It's like, I mean, did they not want to pay for the flight to come back?
I mean, these guys are 19 years old. What are you talking about? A long season? They can go out till late hours of the night and play hockey the next day. Like, come on.
It wasn't like the Amherst were in the Calder Cup final. They got eliminated in the second round to Laval. So it's like, they've been off for 6 weeks. But
if one guy has an injury, he doesn't need to go. If two guys have injuries or there's something slight, like with the Flyers, don't put them in. A whole mess of them like that.
You saw that today, obviously, with Jet Luchanko. They'd fire. It's a minor injury, not a big deal.
That's fine.
Which I said, so therefore we won't be seeing him at all in camp.
Right. But this is a decision for a whole group of guys, which is, I mean, again, if we all want to wonder why things go wrong with the Sabres, and maybe we don't know, is it money motivated or is it just a bad decision? Either way, it's just a bad decision.
Yeah,
in my mind.
And their second highest pick, David Budkowski, the defenseman, he wasn't playing because he got sick on the plane coming back. Not like flu or something. Flying back on the red eye from Los Angeles.
It might be those biscotti cookies. They're not great. Like we're all desperate.
They're nuts. Those coffee ones.
No, they're not great.
They're fantastic. Are you kidding me?
I would rather have peanuts every day in the week than those pieces of cardboard.
You're peanuts. Yeah, you're nuts.
Wait, you're trying to tell me you would eat those over peanuts?
Yes.
Do you know who's not? Who's not taking peanuts right now and probably might be enjoying a biscotti? Pia Suter has just signed a 2-year contract with the St. Louis Blues. Okay. So he's not returning to Vancouver. It is a 2-year contract, $8.25 million. So he's getting 4 years. He's getting $4 million year one and $4.25 million in year two. So
that's a lot.
Pia Suter is a St. Louis Blue. Just remember, they chose Evander Kane.
We know. Yeah, I mean, again, we'll let Mike finish the Sabres. Then we'll talk about we'll have some Canucks.
There's several signings that we can discuss today that have happened. Mangiapane to Edmonton being another one.
Yeah, no, but we'll talk about the Sabres and free agency in a bit. But just in terms of dev camp, I mean, the thing is, I'd say they're two of their better prospects, Adam Kleber and Brody Zemer, who were both on the World Junior gold medal team.
Yeah.
They're not going to be at the rookie camps because they're college players.
No, that happens. Fine.
So you sort of have a hodgepodge where the AHL players are not going to be here or not here, and then some of the college players are not going to be at the scrimmages. So you never get all these players all together. That's what I think is a little strange. But they basically said this is about teaching these players how to be pros, teaching them how how to eat or what to do, and it's like probably where to go for wings in Buffalo is on the agenda too.
Okay, well that sounds important. So let's.
So dismissive. I love it. Dismissive transition from
Mr. Negative.
I mean, there's not a lot positive going on there. I'm sorry. Anyhow, let's talk about the Canucks if we want to stay on a negative.
Oh, there's positive.
So they sign Kane. They lose Suter. Okay. They I understand why they extended Demko, because Demko can't play a full season or maybe even 50 games. So they're going to need a third goalie. Fine. But do you need to spend this much on 3 goalies? Like, I still don't understand the
You
Lankinen
say a
contract.
third goalie. I mean, do you have you talk about Shelovs as well?
Shelovs is the third goalie. Yeah. And Lankinen's making too much. Like, Demko's earned what he's making because when he's in there, he's a top flight guy. I'm not sure what Lankinen is, to be honest.
But Demko's new deal doesn't kick until next year. So
right.
So you're talking about, instead of having 13 million in cap space to goalies, you have I think it's about 10. So that's livable. But the thing you're going to be concerned about is Svilovs can't clear waivers. He's not waiver exempt any longer. So you're either going to have to carry 3 or
they'll carry him. That's what they're going to do, because it's illogical. They're going to carry him. The Flyers carried it with Kolosov a lot of last year. We've seen this.
I mean, it all comes down to certain circumstances in this case. It's only because the player wanted it. I'm not sure. I mean, you are collecting an NHL check if you're Shelov, so
yeah.
But you want to be playing. You'd hope
you do
playing, but force it. It's not like, whereas it felt like Kolosov was practically forcing the issue here.
Yeah, I mean, you could pay me $775,000 to not play. I mean, I would still accept that.
Sure, you would take your stretches and everything.
Yeah,
in camp, but it's good work if you can find it. But trying to get that next contract, it might get a little tough.
It might, but yeah. So I'm not sure. The Canucks, I really don't know what their game plan is, other than I think with everything. Look, I always have thought the world of Brock Besser. I understand why Brock Besser would want to stay there, and I think they're re-signing everybody to keep Quinn Hughes there. I think that's ultimately the game plan, because they know if they lose Quinn Hughes, it's game over.
That's the whole game right now. Every single move was basically designed to do everything I think possible, because that's the only when you look at what Vancouver's doing, you're trying to find a common thread.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's a bad recipe. It's like, if you're signing guys and overpaying guys to keep a player there, and you have no guarantee that he's going to stay there, then what happens in a year when he's a year away from free agency and they go to try to sign him to a long-term extension, and he's going to say, "Nah, we'll wait till he does a Mitch Marner and says, "No, we'll wait until next summer." Then you're screwed. And I don't know. I'd have to look at his contract to see if he's got a no move clause in the last year of his deal. If he does, then it's Marner 2.0.
That's the spectacular work, general managing work that's being done in Vancouver.
So let's talk about Mangiapane going to Edmonton. That's good. I mean, he's always a good secondary scorer. Yep. We heard he might go to Toronto. We could chat about that after. But, I think it's good for Edmonton. We all picked the Kings, right? And if the Kings probably would have done it right, they probably would have won. But when Edmonton got that second life, they went on a nice run. I don't know if they're going on a run like that this year.
By the way, Quinn Hughes has no trade protection, so they could trade him if they can't get him signed. I mean, the Edmonton Oilers are. Stan Bowman could be the most overrated general manager of the last 15 years in the NHL. He walked into a situation where he had a team that was in the Stanley Cup final. He basically kept things as is. He really, he re-signed Adam Henrique. He didn't make a great deal of changes. I'll give him credit for picking up guys like Kasperi Kapanen off of waivers. He loses 2 young players to offer sheets because of their cap situation. Now, Connor McDavid basically has a shot across the bow saying, I want to stay here, but I want to win. So, let's, show me. And what has he shown him? He's shown him the way to the airport as his friends are leaving. Connor Brown goes to New Jersey. I don't know if Evander Kane was one of his friends, but he goes to Vancouver. I mean, they have, Mangiapane, I think, is a decent third line ad for them. Yeah. But they're not a better team right now. And the contract they signed Evan Bouchard to should be on the resume or on the reasons why he should be fired. But he's not going to be fired because he's only been there for a year.
And who's the starting goalie?
Oh, it's Stuart Siv Skinner. I mean, right now it is. Now,
this week.
Yeah, this week it's like there's some speculation apparently because he is readily available, and he did play for the Edmonton Oil Kings that they might trade for Tristan Jarry. And it's like, wow.
Sorry, I had a little throw up come up
from the fire, from the frying pan into the fire. There, man. It's like
keep trying. They keep. It's basically this. It may not work for us. It may not work for them, but it just might work.
He was an Oil King. Remember that?
Yes, I know. I know he was an Oil King.
Yeah. So, all right. So now we talk about Mitch Marner. He's a member of the Vegas Golden Knights.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like that whole press conference was loaded with Toronto things to annoy Toronto fans and media. Like it was a gaslighting session. Let's be honest.
It was truly between the wagging of the finger at the press about William Karls.
Right.
And as our colleague Charlie O'Connor put so succinctly, you're the guy who trades everybody away. Why would anybody be surprised at this? So it's this whole concept here of this was an audience. In reality, this was not Kelly McCrimmon talking to the press. He had an audience of two, a couple of players that were hot and heavy in the rumor mill, and now he needs to make sure that
it's all good with them.
Damage control has been done, and they, as I said with Vegas, they will roll out the red carpet for you, or the gold carpet, or whatever you want to call it. They'll have the showgirls out. They'll play bands in the background. It's cool. And then, boy, when they get ready, they will ship you out as unceremoniously as it comes.
Yeah, they're rolling out the gold. They're rolling out the gold carpet, but they did that for Paul Marner. What are they going to do for Mitch? No. I mean, honestly, it's like, I mean, some of the sort of passive aggressive stuff that Marner said in his presser. It's funny. It's like, I loved my time in Toronto. Okay, then why didn't you stay there? Why? Because they blamed you for their failures, and they were right. Now, not all of the failures are blamed or should be blamed on Mitch Marner, but a great deal of them, because one of their best players did not show up on a consistent basis in the playoffs. That's all in the past now. He's a Vegas Golden Knight. I'm looking at that team and I'm saying, you're very top heavy. You've got Stone and Eichel. You've got Hurdle and Marner. You're probably pairing those two on the top two lines. You're going to have a tough time filling in around the edges. I mean, they just signed Caden Korzak to a 4-year deal at $3.25,
and he's okay.
That was an interesting sign. Yeah,
I mean, look, their defense is a problem,
right? And that was the point I was going to make. Is Alex Pietrangelo likely is never playing again? Right. It sounds.
Poor guy, he gave it all.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, great player, probably a Hall of Famer. 2-time Stanley Cup winner.
None of us could pronounce his name the right way. It took a while.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Petrangelo, whatever. You say tomato, I say tomato. But, I mean, honestly, the thing is, I don't know how, with their cap space, and I don't think they have much after this Korzak signing. They're in the chipped. Well, no, they're okay. Once Pietrangelo is put on LTIR, they have $1.2 million in cap space. I don't think you're getting a top 4 defenseman.
That's a no-tax $1.2 million, Mike. They can get a top 4 defenseman.
Okay, and then wait till Matt Dumba is bought out, and then you can sign him for $775.
Hey, there you go.
But I mean,
they're not buying him out.
I know. Right. Yeah. But my point is, I can't see them getting in on Bowen Byram. I can't see them getting in on not Keandre Miller, but Rasmus Anderson. I mean, they don't have the.
Prior to the Marner thing, they did make a run at them. They were. Yeah. So I do wonder what machinations that Kelly McCrimmon was working on prior to the Marner thing. I think the Marner thing was going to happen anyway, but in order for them to make a run at Anderson, I was like,
I have the answer.
I want to see you I want to see you thread this needle here.
Yeah, and I just have to say, it's like, okay, Not that this is any proof of tampering, but at 12:01, when they have a box of 93 Marner jerseys ready to sell at the Vegas Pro Shop.
I showed you that picture with them hanging up.
That was AI, Russ.
That was okay. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, that I saw that, and I
thought it was a bit early, but
it was early. But that's crap in this world at this point.
They had
what's real.
They had number 16 jerseys on there, and he's wearing 93.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He's wearing 93. Not because Doug Gilmour was his favorite player, but Doug Gilmour was his dad's favorite player. Like, okay, whip. Yeah, anyway.
So I had the answer. This is what Vegas will do. They will sign Brent Burns to $1 million contract with $2 million in bonuses.
Bingo.
We're going to have a incentive-laden contract to see if
right, because the bonuses come off next year's cap.
Yeah, that's going to be. We all watch Burns, man.
I know, but he can still move the puck. He can.
Yeah, and then they'll
simulate. You're trying. Okay, we're trying to do something in the aggregate here to try to reproduce.
Yeah,
and then they'll sign Marc-Edouard Vlasic too. So they'll have
but Burns can play a little bit. He can.
Yeah.
He just can't play top pairing anymore. Nothing like that.
Right.
So I think that's what they're going to end up doing. All right.
Oh, Vlasic. Did we mention Vlasic? I'm sorry.
I just did.
He did.
That was you. That's right.
He did. Yeah, that guy did.
Good job. Good job for paying attention, Ant. Good job.
The guy in the Yankees hat said it. I don't know how that guy's name is.
Blanked out when you had the Yankees hat on. Oh, God.
It does. It could be any bread truck driver, really. I mean,
there we go.
It could be Lou Costello. I mean,
there it is. Now you look. Now you're straight up Costanza. Holy crap! No, keep it that way. That was
no.
Yes, that was beautiful.
No.
So let's talk rumors as to where Nazem Kadri might go.
Oh yeah,
Ant, what do you think?
Oh, I hope it's Toronto. God, I need this. I need this like electricity in my house.
Mike, your thoughts?
No.
No, you don't think it's possible?
I think it's possible.
The GM has had him before, so
the GM's in control. He's trying to maintain control.
The GM signed him to that ridiculous deal in Calgary. When Kachuk and Lindholm walked out the door, and he paid Huberdeau, and he paid because ownership wanted him to pay Huberdeau a year out from free agency, so they needed to have something, and they signed Cadri after Colorado won the Cup. I understand that Treliving was not the GM when the Leafs had Cadri before, but you have to read the landscape of the market. He assassinated their playoff chances. I don't care if he is a different person. Great. Let him play someplace else. First of all, you'd be adding you'd be adding another forward at the same age as John Tavares, and you're not getting him for free. You'd have to give up significant. Would you give up Easton Cowan for Nazem Kadri? Not a chance in hell.
I wouldn't, but Mike,
I don't think they would. Russ, I don't think they would. I mean, I understand that the rumor is coming from Elliott, and Elliott's one of the best in the business, no doubt. And I'm sure, if he's reporting it, there's something to it. But I mean, right now, there's the apparent want for the Leafs is, well, we need a second line center. Well, your second line center wears number 91, at least for another year or two. It's John Tavares. Okay. He's not, he's losing speed. And next year you might be able to go out and get your number 2 center. But this year, if your options are Nazem Kadri and maybe a couple other guys, it's not an exception because he's got 4 years left on a contract at $7 million. If he was an expiring contract and you got him for a second round pick, okay, I would overlook the fact that he killed your playoffs by being an idiot twice.
Except he has 44 points in 52 playoff games. He's a good playoff performer.
Right, Russ. But the problem is that if he was a rental, I would say if he was a 1 year rental, fine. But, you're talking about a guy.
It's also whether or not the penalties that he took in the past mitigate the points and the timing of his penalties. Scupper the Leafs' chances. And
that's fair.
And I always say that is a fair thing. It's the same thing with Evander Kane. Kane can provide a lot of really good things, but he will take that really poorly timed penalty that can completely torpedo your chances.
I mean, the problem is right now, if you look at it, and I just looked at it before the show, the two best unrestricted free agent forward options right now, one is Jack Roslovic, and the other, and I don't think this is a viable option, but I'm just mentioning because the guy was a scorer a couple years ago, is Jeff Skinner. And that's
another option here, Mike, in terms of centers.
Well, I don't. Let's change the narrative here, because I don't think it's realistic right now. I think your 1, 2, 3 in Toronto is Matthews, Tavares, and Nicolas Roy up the middle, and that for this year, that's fine. The cost of getting a number 2 center is prohibitive, so I think that they're looking for probably a number 2 or number 1 winger that can't fill all the points that Marner scored, but some of them. There's your aggregate.
I know you don't want to do it. I said, I'm just going to throw this at you. St. Louis getting Pius Suter. The center situation in St. Louis is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Could you swing back again to potentially talk to them about Braden Shen?
Well, Braden Shen apparently blocked the deal last year, but I guess his no trade protection changed this year. I'm looking at it right now.
You also want to try to make sure in this circumstance that that's where he actually wants to go.
Right. He's got a 15-team no trade. So I would assume, his brother is playing in Winnipeg. Maybe he's a Western Canada kid. If he had a chance to go to play with his brother, fine. Yeah. I don't know whether he would waive to go to Toronto, but he can block half the league. So, they got company.
Yeah. Okay. Just throw it out there as a potential option if you're looking at.
But as I would think that there's a better chance that they would go after a Brian Rust or a Ricard Raquel, who are clearly on the market.
Yeah, but what are they going to give them?
Well, that's the thing. Anybody you're trading for in terms of a top 6 forward, they're going to ask for Cowan.
Of course. I mean, if you get Rust, you've traded Cowan. There's no question in my mind.
I am in favor, and I'm not saying force the kid into the league. If he's not ready, he's not ready. But go to trade.
Speaking of Winnipeg, it looks like we're about to have another Winnipeg signing. It looks like according to Elliot Friedman, Gustav Nyquist.
Okay.
It's a good signing for them.
Good signing. Go to training camp. Give Cowan an opportunity to win the job. If he does, I'm sure they're going to probably have training camp invites like they did last year. They're probably going to bring Pacioretty back. Maybe a couple other guys. And if it doesn't work a quarter of the way into the season, you have cap space, then you can make a move. But
it's hard to then, though. That's the only problem.
I know you probably have to wait till the deadline.
Right.
But I think that's the better course of action than making a reflexive trade for Nazem Kadri, which I think would be a disaster.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, it is. I see both sides of it. I understand both sides. I don't really know which way they're going to go with that. I mean, I still do think they need scoring help.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how they're going to accomplish that. Just a quick note on the Penguins. I don't have much faith in Kyle Dubas. I'll be honest. I gave him the chance when he took over this team, and I know that ownership could control a certain amount, but that still doesn't control drafts and trades. And
I know we had this conversation, and I was like, the minute it wasn't it wasn't Jackson Smith and Victor Eklund for those.
I mean, what is
Russ is like? He's going to be out on them. And
what are we doing here? Like
the Ben Kindle is an interesting one. We all have this talk where we really believe that they've talked themselves into saying Ben Kindle's going to be a center. That's whereas I don't think it's necessarily out there per se that he will be. It was definitely for those who were kind of like, why Nesbbit high? No, I don't think anybody had Kindle at 11.
Not that high. No way.
And we said that during the draft, like, well, we were waiting for it. As soon as we got out of the top 10, we had our first.
Right. You didn't even have to look at his specs to know Kyle Dubas drafted a 5'10", 176-pound center.
Now, listen, he is a talented player, but Anthony's right. The chances of him playing center are slim.
But I think he's been drafted with the idea that he's a centerman.
Right.
And that's that. that brings him up the tier into that spot if you think that. But you're convincing yourself of that.
But and then they drafted kids with size like Zonin and Horkoff. But
there was some good. I felt like past that pick, I like Zonin. I think he's going to be a solid player in the National Hockey League, and I like Horkoff. I think very, very intelligent player who's learning how to use.
Yeah. There's not a lot of offense with Horkoff, but he could play.
No, but if you're trying to build up for the future, in this case with strong centermen, because I think Pittsburgh probably got tired last year of getting dominated by teams that had stronger center play than they did.
I will say this for the Rangers report here. Chris Drury did a good job. Actually, there's no way he could have paid Keandre Miller. The return he got was good. Scott Morrow can play. So in that regard, that was a good return with picks. I think he did well. Carolina, again, I think just the same. Now, I think Miller's better, but not a lot. The same way they overpaid Kokoniemi, they're just overpaying again.
I think there's this. They're trying to another team that's convincing themselves that Miller. I think they've got to. I think that contract convinces them that they think he's Seth Jones.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean,
that's going to come with the good and the bad.
Right.
Seth Jones too, because for as good as he was in Florida last year, that structure in Florida helps.
Absolutely.
Fit him very well. Carolina, their style of play, I'm not 100% necessarily convinced that it's completely a perfect match for Keandre Miller. But Carolina needed to make a move. We're all still waiting on Ehlers, whether or not Ehlers ends up there.
I think the report was that it's going to be announced today.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be today. Washington, I heard, was whispered as a possible suitor.
I still don't think they're going to do it now. I think they made other moves that would prevent it, but Washington. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think the name is out there just as probably a negotiating strategy.
So who else? Who else is in
Carolina? I think it's
Carolina. I think Carolina fits Ehlers as well, and it's an offseason where I think Eric Tulsky can say and taking care of Stankoven on a long-term deal. That's a solid all season. You just don't know but again, it comes back to goaltending for them too.
It's the Danish Olympic team, Russ. I mean, Freddie Anderson and Ehlers.
I just, again, I don't know exactly what Eric Tulsky has been doing, but I also understand there's an owner there that's hard to maneuver with.
And you're trying to be a National Hockey League general manager from in what is obviously a non-traditional background, but as a guy who has excelled in everything he's ever done.
Yeah.
So he has to kind of, at the end of the day, he has a boss who has provided him with an opportunity, but it's going to be done within the parameters of what the owner is going to allow. And supposedly this offseason, the shackles were supposed to be off. So let's see.
Yeah, I worry if Ehlers goes there, it'll be similar to what happened with Rantanen. Because Winnipeg has this.
If it's Ehlers in this circumstance, but Rantanen, the difference with Rantanen was that he didn't choose to be there.
Right. No, but it doesn't matter. It's not like he didn't try and play. It's just that he came from
But if you already have it in your head that this is probably not the place.
Right.
Okay, but I'm just going to say Winnipeg has this really strong structure, and now they're going to be like, "Hey, Nick, you need to be our third best guy."
Doesn't have structure.
No.
I may be overemphasizing the relationship between Ehlers and Anderson, but they are countrymen. They are on the same team in the Olympics. I am sure Freddie Anderson communicated to Ehlers what the deal is in Carolina.
Yeah, Freddie's like, "Look, they signed me for another year. Come and get all you can get." That's what Freddie said. That's what I'd be saying if I were Freddie. I can't believe they gave me another year.
Yeah, they won't sign. They won't play that guy Kochetkov, who's better than me. But
no, listen. I wasn't going to say Brendan Moore doesn't have a structure. What I'm going to say is it's different, and Ehlers is not exactly like a fire starter on his own like he should be. And so I kind of wonder, like even Svechnikov has gotten lost in the Carolina structure at times. With all that talent,
that is a fair counterpoint. That is an absolutely fair counterpoint.
Just to
I didn't think we were going to mention Freddie Anderson today, but that was nice.
Yeah, it's like mentioning Thomas Caberlet.
Just got a cup, Mike.
Yeah, he does. That's true.
Mhm.
That's just to finish off because nothing of major consequence happened with the Buffalo Sabres. If unless you consider re-signing Ryan McLeod, which he scored 20 goals last year, he had a good year, and signing Alex Lyon to a
That's
two-year
it.
contract. Yeah, that's the big move that's going to get them into the playoffs.
I like Alex. I'm just kidding.
But it's. I mean, if anything, you sort of clouded the picture of your goaltending because that this is insurance in case Devin Levi. Apparently he's still waiver exempt, so he can go down to Rochester again. But how many more years are you going to have?
If it doesn't happen, somebody will sign him to an offer sheet next year because somebody's going to need a goalie, and they're going to be like, these guys really are sending him up and down, and I bet you Levi will agree to it if it's because he's going to want out.
But the main focus of Kevin Adams' comments were regarding the report yesterday from Darren Drager that Bowen Byram, could be the target of an offer sheet. And Adams said without reservation, they will match an offer sheet.
We know
now, of course he's going to say that.
Always.
Yeah.
If you're poking your finger in someone's chest, what do you expect?
Right.
So, and then he'll go to the cap department and to the owner and say, are we going to match this?
Right. Well, especially if the scenario pops up that Drager floated that they would offer him $7 million, which the compensation would be a 1 and a 3. The Sabres would be fools not to match it. I mean, depending on the length of the deal. I mean, if they do a 2-year deal and walk him to unrestricted free agency, I still would do it. He's a retainable asset.
Sure, but what if they go 7 by 5? That may make the Sabres not do it.
$7 million for 5 years.
Yeah. They may not do it.
Well, I mean,
because they kind of want to trade him now. Like they don't want him for 5 years.
They want to trade him. But I think the fact that if it's $7 million and they can fit it under the cap, they would match it and then trade him next summer.
It would be honestly, Russ, I hate to say this, it would be based on spiteful principle.
Maybe. Yeah.
Exactly what it's going to be. And that's how teams are going to be. And my whole thing this year with offer sheets is, let's make sure this is not just a performative art thing where people do it and it's so easily matched that it becomes a joke. So if you're going to put an offer sheet out there, make it hard on another team. We need this.
Please block Stephen Cohen saying finish this off because I'm prepping for the next Brewers tilt. That game, that may be the best one he's ever put in there if he wanted to annoy me. Like that's it. That's peak right there.
I honestly didn't see the game or the result.
Oh my God, the game was a disaster.
I got to check. The Phillies had a doubleheader. I think they lost the first one.
Yeah, they were losing big, but then they started to come back. But the game was a disaster. Actually, the whole 3 weeks lately is a disaster. So if he wanted to get me off my game, that was the way to do it. All right. That's it. That's it for Off the Post. We'll catch everybody next time.
Take care, everybody.